There are moments when the world of professional sports, with its relentless focus on wins, losses, and rankings, suddenly feels profoundly insignificant. A single, shattering event can pierce that bubble, reminding us of the fragile human drama playing out beyond the stadium walls. For Carlos Alcaraz, fighting for glory halfway across the globe at the Australian Open, that piercing moment arrived with the horrific news from home, the Adamus train disaster. And his response, in the shadow of that tragedy, revealed the true measure of the man behind the racket. Following a hard-won victory in the second round, he didn't bask in the glory. Instead, he reached for a marker, approached the camera, and etched a message of profound solidarity for his grieving nation. The catastrophe at Adamus is a wound on the heart of Spain. It stands as one of the most horrific train disasters the nation has witnessed in more than a decade, a nightmare that unfolded on Sunday evening, January 18th, when a high-speed train derailed near Adamus. But this was far more than a simple derailment. The train careened onto the opposing track, directly into the path of another locomotive, resulting in a cataclysmic head-on collision. The human cost was staggering, climbing to a grim total of at least 42 lives lost and nearly 300 injured, a great many in critical condition. In an instant, the fabric of countless families was torn asunder. The front carriages of both trains were twisted into an unrecognizable mass of metal, forcing rescuers to cut through the mangled steel to reach those trapped inside. The nation fell silent, declaring 3 days of national mourning. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez immediately canceled his appearance at the World Economic Forum in Davos to be at the site of the wreckage. King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia also traveled to Adamus, standing with the rescue workers and offering solace to the victims' devastated families. An entire country was united in its grief. And from the other side of the planet, immersed in the pressure of the Australian Open, Carlos Alcaraz felt an undeniable need to act. He had to let his fellow Spaniards know that even from a world away, his heart was with them. After dispatching German player Yannick Hoffmann in his second-round contest, Alcaraz followed a time-honored tennis tradition. He walked to the television camera, but instead of a celebratory note, he wrote a message in his native Spanish. For those unfamiliar with the language, his words meant, "Much strength, Spain," or "Courage for what's happening in Spain." It was a phrase that resonated with immense gravity, filled with empathy and a profound connection to a people in agony. In his press conference after the match, Alcaraz explained the impulse behind his message, stating that physical distance couldn't shield them from the news of what was unfolding back home. He felt compelled to offer a sign of support to all the families who had lost someone in the horrifying incident. He then added something deeply poignant, mentioning his fear that the small lens of the camera was not enough space to truly convey the depth of his feelings. That confession of vulnerability, that worry over whether his simple gesture could ever be adequate, that is the hallmark of true compassion. It was not for cameras or for accolades. It was a raw, human response from a man who deeply cared. Consider the immense pressure Alcaraz is under as the world's #1 player. He is competing in one of the sport's 4 most prestigious tournaments, facing down the most formidable opponents on earth. His entire focus should have been consumed by tactics, physical readiness, and the relentless mental game required to remain at the apex of his sport. But his thoughts were elsewhere. They were with the people suffering in his homeland. His mind was on the families that would never again be complete. He was thinking of the children who had become orphans, the parents who had lost their children, and the communities shattered by an unspeakable grief. The tragedy of Adamus is punctuated by stories of almost unbearable sorrow, like that of a 6-year-old girl who miraculously survived with just 3 stitches. But this miracle came at a terrible price. She lost her parents, her brother, and her cousin in the collision. She was discovered wandering barefoot on the tracks, having escaped the carnage through a broken window. While her survival is being hailed as a miracle by locals, she is a miracle who must now grow up an orphan. Stories like these force a brutal sense of perspective. Suddenly, the drama of a tennis match shrinks, becoming utterly trivial in the face of such profound human suffering. What elevates Alcaraz's act is its profound lack of performance. There was no manufactured drama, no special press conference to seize the spotlight. He simply took his marker to the camera lens, using a familiar ritual where players often scribble messages of thanks or personal dedications. Yet, his dedication was not to a sponsor or a personal victory. It was to a nation in pain. That quiet sincerity is precisely why the moment resonated so deeply with millions watching across the globe. As the inquiry into the cause of the Adamus accident continues, the nation grapples with its loss. The scene of the disaster was a haunting paradox. a detail Transport Minister Oscar Puente called profoundly baffling. The wreck occurred on a perfectly straight stretch of railway, fresh from an expensive and total overhaul. There was no excessive speed, and every single safety system was believed to have been operating flawlessly. Whispers from the initial inquiry point toward a single, flawed weld in the steel, but the absolute truth remains an elusive ghost in the wreckage. What is tragically certain is this: nearly 500 souls were aboard those trains, and in the space of a heartbeat, dozens of futures were stolen, while hundreds more were irrevocably shattered. The profound irony is that Spain's high-speed rail system stands as one of the planet's most advanced and sprawling infrastructures. Its sheer scale surpassed only by the network in China. For generations, these trains were more than just transport. They were a symbol of national pride, a beacon of safety, efficiency, and modern comfort. The system's last catastrophic failure was in 2013 in Santiago de Compostela, a disaster that claimed 79 lives. That tragedy was born of human error and reckless speed. The Adamu nightmare, however, is a different breed of horror. One far more chilling because it unfolded in a scenario engineered for absolute safety. The event has forced an entire nation to confront a terrifying question: how can they trust the very system they have so long taken for granted? For Alcaraz, witnessing this catastrophe from the other side of the planet must have been an agonizing ordeal. An athlete of his stature leads a nomadic existence, a life spent battling in foreign arenas, a constant blur of packed suitcases and anonymous hotel rooms. In the relentless pursuit of their dreams, they sacrifice birthdays, holidays, and priceless family moments. But when a tragedy of this magnitude strikes their homeland, that immense distance feels like an impassable chasm. The instinct to just be there is overwhelming. A deep-seated need to help wars with the harsh reality of being trapped thousands of miles away, bound by professional obligations. So you find a way to bridge that distance, even with just a few words on a camera lens, a simple gesture that ignited a tidal wave of heartfelt appreciation back in Spain. The public was deeply moved that he carved out a moment from his high-stakes world to acknowledge the nation's shared pain. Social media platforms became a flood of gratitude, with countless comments thanking him for holding the victims and their families in his thoughts. In the shadow of a national trauma, such small gestures of solidarity carry a weight far greater than one might imagine. They are a powerful signal to the grieving that they are not alone, that their pain is seen, and that their loss has not been erased by the relentless march of world events. To be clear, Alcaraz was not the only prominent Spaniard to offer condolences and support for the victims of the Adamu disaster. The legendary players of Real Madrid paused their training to hold a solemn moment of silence. Politicians from every party set aside their differences to express their shared sorrow and pledge unwavering support for the investigation and the families left behind. Still, there is something uniquely touching about witnessing a young champion deep in the crucible of his own professional trials, taking the time to reach out to his suffering countrymen. It's a moment that offers a revealing window into the very heart of Alcaraz's character. Despite his meteoric rise to fame at such a young age, he is known for a humility and a genuine kindness that fame hasn't touched. He has not forgotten his origins. He remains deeply connected to his community and his country, and he understands the platform his fame provides is a tool he can wield for good. That kind of integrity isn't something that can be taught. It is either woven into the fabric of your being, or it is not. And for Carlos, it is undeniably there. The timing of his message, too, speaks volumes. He shared it after his second-round match, meaning he was still in the early stages of a grueling tournament, with the monumental task of winning the Australian Open looming ahead. Every opponent from that point on would present an exponentially harder challenge. The mental fortress required to compete at that level is all-consuming, and yet, he made a conscious choice to pause his own war to honor the tragedy at home. That is the unmistakable sign of a man who understands that life is infinitely bigger than tennis. In his press conference, Alcaraz also went through the motions of discussing tactical changes to his serve and his mental approach to the game. He spoke of adjusting his demeanor, his internal monologue, and how he copes with the immense pressure of pivotal moments in a match. These are all the expected components of a professional athlete's debrief. But then, he pivoted, and his focus turned entirely to the Adamu tragedy. You could hear the change in his voice, an immediate shift that told you this was what truly mattered to him in that moment. The talk about the match was just tennis. The tragedy was real life, etched in real pain and irreversible loss. There is a long and storied history of athletes using their immense platforms to confront social issues, to mourn tragedies, and to champion important causes. We have witnessed it across every sport, from basketball players wearing powerful statements on their jerseys to soccer stars taking a knee. Yet, what Alcaraz did felt somehow different. It was not a political statement. It courted no controversy. It was, quite simply, an act of pure human compassion. It was one person, seeing the suffering of others from afar, and trying in his own humble way to offer a measure of comfort. Messages like the one from Alcaraz may seem like small gestures against the immense backdrop of such a catastrophic event. A simple message scribbled on a camera lens cannot resurrect the dead or mend shattered bones, yet it offers a powerful solace for the soul. In the depths of despair, it's a beacon, a sign that they are not forgotten, that their lives hold meaning, and that in a world of helplessness, this gesture is a profound offering of solidarity. The Adamus disaster has shattered the illusion of rail safety, igniting urgent inquiries throughout Spain and Europe. How could such a catastrophe unfold on tracks touted as secure and modern? Were there whispers of danger that went unheard? Was this horrific outcome a preventable fate? These are the haunting questions that investigators will wrestle with in the long days and months that lie ahead. Madrid has vowed a meticulous investigation, a promise that almost certainly foreshadows a complete overhaul of safety regulations. But for now, amidst the raw shock and grief, all efforts are channeled toward aiding the survivors, embracing the bereaved families, and commemorating the lives so tragically cut short. The world of tennis does not stop. Alcaraz's career marches on. He will step onto the court for his third-round match, and with any luck, for countless more. A vast horizon stretches before him, filled with the promise of future Grand Slams and records waiting to be shattered. And yet, this quiet act, a heartfelt message penned on a lens, will echo in memory just as loudly. Its power lies not in spectacle, but in its profound humanity. It revealed that even while chasing his own monumental ambitions, his heart remained with those plunged into suffering. That specific phrase he chose, mucho ánimo, holds a deeper significance when you pause to consider its meaning. It's a plea for courage, a command to remain unbroken, a refusal to surrender to overwhelming despair. It is the very essence of what Spain needs in this moment. A nation is shrouded in sorrow, grappling with an incomprehensible loss. And from the global stage, their young tennis icon sends a message back home: find your strength. The message carries such weight because it comes from a man who personifies that very strength and courage every time he competes. The path to recovery from this national trauma will be long and arduous. Broken bodies will eventually mend. The twisted wreckage will be hauled away, the tracks restored, and the trains will run again. But the invisible wounds, the scars etched upon the heart and mind, will endure far longer. For grieving families, the pain will stretch across the years. Survivors will forever battle the ghosts of that day. Entire communities will be eternally defined by this moment in their history. And perhaps, in some small, immeasurable way, the knowledge that figures like Carlos Alcaraz are holding them in their thoughts can offer a sliver of light. As Alcaraz pushes forward in the Australian Open, he does so with the heavy burden of his nation's tragedy on his shoulders. With each step onto the court, his thoughts will surely drift to the devastated families, to the small girl who emerged alive but orphaned, and to the heroic rescuers toiling through the night amid a hellscape of mangled steel. It's a perspective that might fundamentally reshape his approach to the game. Perhaps the immense pressure of a championship match will feel diminished by comparison. Maybe it will remind him that in the end, tennis is just a sport, and there are far more critical things in life. That realization, however, does not diminish the importance of his craft. On the contrary, in moments of collective sorrow, sports can offer a precious escape, a fleeting glimpse of joy or thrilling distraction. For the Spanish fans watching Alcaraz, his performance offers more than just a diversion. The knowledge that he is fighting for them, carrying their national pride both literally and emotionally, infuses his every move with a profound new significance. The Adamz tragedy serves as a brutal reminder of life's inherent fragility and its terrifying unpredictability. Passengers boarded those trains with the simple expectation of a safe journey. Their minds were likely occupied with the ordinary details of life. Thoughts of dinner plans, a forgotten lock on a door, the to-do list awaiting them at home. In a single violent instant, all of that vanished. For some, life was extinguished. For the survivors, life was irrevocably altered. It is a stark call to cherish every moment, to voice our love for those we hold dear, and to never assume a tomorrow. Alcaraz's simple message cannot alter the grim reality of the event. It cannot resurrect the lost or undo the deep-seated trauma. And yet, it matters profoundly. It matters to every person who saw it and, in their suffocating grief, felt a flicker of recognition and remembrance. It matters as a testament to using one's influence for compassion, for aspiring to be more than just a competitor. And above all, it matters as a beacon in the darkness, reminding us that even when all seems lost, there are people who see our pain, who hold us in their thoughts, and who implore us to endure. And so, regardless of the outcome of his Australian Open campaign, win or lose, Carlos Alcaraz has already demonstrated his true measure. He has proven that a champion's legacy is not forged solely from victories, rankings, or trophies. It is defined by one's character, by compassion for others, and by the responsible use of one's platform. It is about the vital recognition that behind the headlines are human beings enduring unimaginable suffering. And sometimes, the most potent act of all is to simply bear witness to that pain and say, "I see you. You are in my thoughts. Be strong." That move was pure Alcaraz, and it was precisely why his message, for all its simplicity, ignited something so profound in so many people.